You're in a crowded room. Conversations are happening all around you. Maybe you're even nodding along, but something is completely off. You feel entirely isolated, like you're watching the scene from behind a pane of glass. It's a confusing experience. You have proximity to others, but zero emotional resonance. Physical closeness alone isn't doing the job. When you confess this feeling, the standard advice is usually some version of, just put yourself out there more. But if being around people is what's making you feel empty, adding more social events to your calendar is the worst thing you can do. Forcing yourself to go through the motions drains what little finite emotional energy you have left. Eventually, that exhaustion sours into resentment toward the friends and peers you're trying to connect with. Maintaining the illusion of a busy social life doesn't solve loneliness. It just sacrifices your internal well-being and guarantees you stay isolated in plain sight. Let's stop treating this disconnection as a permanent personality flaw. It is an actionable signal. It's an indicator that something in your life is currently misaligned. To fix that misalignment, we need to diagnose where the friction is coming from. If we take the most common causes of disconnection, they split into two clear categories: internal friction, dealing with your energy levels and past experiences, and external friction, dealing with your environment and daily habits. Internal friction usually means you literally lack the emotional capacity to engage right now, driven by exhaustion or unresolved pain. External friction means you might have the capacity, but you're applying it to the wrong methods, like relying too much on screens, or to the wrong people as your priorities change. When we look at how these internal and external frictions actually manifest in a person's life, they tend to cluster into three distinct profiles. If your internal battery is simply bottomed out, you're the depleted. If your internal walls are up because of past pain, you're the guarded. And if your external environment no longer matches who you've become, you're the outgrower. Accurately identifying which of these three boxes matches your current life is the only way to figure out what you actually need to do next. Let's look at the first profile, the depleted. You actually want to connect with people, but you have absolutely zero emotional battery left to do it. Whether it's chronic stress, career burnout, or unmanaged anxiety and depression, your baseline energy is tapped out. You're running on empty. You can spot this in your behavior. You start heavily relying on texts and passive social media likes. Why? Because typing out a quick message requires a lot less immediate energy than a real-time face-to-face conversation. To figure out the fix, let's map this in our matrix. The required action is radical rest. Set strict boundaries. Stop high-volume texting and swap for low-volume in-person meetups. The trade-off: to heal, you must accept intense FOMO, stepping back from social obligations. You cannot manufacture empathy or joy on an empty tank. Rebuilding the bandwidth for a genuine conversation means prioritizing your rest over other people's expectations. Next is the guarded profile. This happens when you intentionally keep people at arm's length to protect yourself. The root cause is almost always unprocessed emotional pain. Dealing with past trauma, betrayal, or sudden abandonment creates an invisible barrier around you. You hesitate to trust because you expect to be let down again. This pain creates a desperate need for safety, which often manifests as perfectionism in your relationships. If you can find a perfect person, it feels like you're finally safe from being hurt. But because no one is flawless, the moment a friend shows a human crack or a misunderstanding occurs, your brain treats it as a warning sign of future betrayal, and you pull away to protect yourself. Let's look at the matrix. The required action is actively processing pain through therapy and forcing yourself to embrace messy, imperfect interactions. The brutal trade-off? To achieve genuine trust, you must drop your defensive armor, accepting the risk you might get hurt again. In this profile, absolute safety and deep connection are mutually exclusive. Protecting yourself entirely from pain guarantees permanent isolation. The third profile is the outgrower. You have evolved, but your surrounding environment and your legacy friend group have not. This stems from major shifts in your life goals, your values, or your priorities. Over time, you've realized you have a total lack of shared interests with your current network. Behaviorally, you find yourself enduring surface-level, one-sided interactions. You're showing up, but your core emotional needs are left completely unmet. Looking at our matrix, the solution requires a deliberate pivot. You must proactively communicate your unmet needs while seeking new communities that align with your identity. The trade-off requires patience, enduring a transitional period of awkward isolation while outgrowing comfortable old friendships. Clinging to outdated, comfortable connections physically takes up the time and space needed to form new, deeply aligned relationships. Attempting to tackle all the causes of disconnection at the exact same time is a recipe for failure. You need targeted focus based on your specific profile. We've built a Day 1 Reconnection Blueprint. This is a scorecard designed to trigger immediate momentum, requiring just one action today based on your diagnosis. If you are the depleted, your Day 1 action is to schedule one entirely obligation-free rest day to start rebuilding your baseline energy. If you are the guarded, your assignment is to initiate one honest, vulnerable conversation with a trusted person, fully accepting the imperfection of the exchange. And if you are the outgrower, your task is to sign up for or attend one single event that aligns with a newly developed interest, even if showing up alone feels awkward. Across all three profiles, there is one central trade-off. Leaving isolation requires exchanging low-effort comfort for high-effort, high-risk emotional labor. Deep connection is never a passive guarantee. It is a deliberate, active practice, and it begins the moment you diagnose your friction and take one targeted step forward.